The first MLB World Series was in 1903. Baseball was a completely different game in a completely different world. Pitchers were dedicated to having the nastiest pitches and the nastiest stuff. They didn't worry about having the hardest velocity being the hardest thrower. No, absolutely not. Because if you threw so hard, you would blow your arm out by tearing your UCL. A torn UCL was known as a dead arm. A dead arm was an arm that was past recovery and would be a career ender, so you would never pitch again. The game you loved would be gone within a blink of just your UCL tearing. In 1974, obviously about 70 years after the first World Series was played, a man named Tommy John was on the mound, and he tore his UCL. Again, it was widely considered as a career ender, but he went into the clubhouse and he got to meet with the medical trainers. And one doctor, his name was Frank Jobe. Jobe knew that the ligament was torn and that he would have to go on a cast for about 4 weeks, and he saw if it would hopefully heal. It did not heal. And at the time, there were no medical advancements in actually fixing this type of an injury. But Tommy told Jobe one sentence: "Fix my arm." But Jobe responded and pretty much just told Tommy there was no type of surgical advancement to go and actually get this type of a surgery done. Tommy said, "Make something up," and that's exactly what he ended up doing. He figured out a surgery that had a possibility of working, but it was a 1 in 100 chance of working according to the doctor. 2 years later, Tommy returned to the mound and the surgery was a success. As the years went on, a torn UCL was now known as a Tommy John surgery. A fixable injury was a torn UCL. Years went by. Pitchers did start to throw harder. They adjusted. They began throwing harder and harder and harder. It's not like they wanted to tear their UCL, but it was no longer a career ender. We went on to see some of the greatest pitchers of all time, like Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, and many more who threw really hard. But as the years have gone on, into the 2000s specifically, velocity in Tommy Johns have gotten up way too far. Because it's not just big leaguers, it's not just adults that are trying to throw 100 miles an hour. There are kids who are in Little League, and they're being told to throw as hard as they can. These pitchers are being brought up through Little League, through high school, through college, and now through the majors, throwing insane velocity. And honestly, it's quite sad to watch. It's an era where pitchers don't throw for stuff, and they instead pitch for velocity. This has obviously impacted many pitchers at the major league level year by year by year. Since the year 2020, we have seen 50 Tommy John surgeries across the league. And keep in mind, those 50 Tommy John surgeries are only from the players that are at the MLB level, so that's not even counting single A, double A, or triple A. Obviously, medical technology is advancing, and MLB trainers are also advancing. But the pitcher's velocity rates are as high as ever, and that is the problem. It is just so hard to keep with, no matter how fast that healthcare is advancing. An example of this would of course be Phillies prospect Andrew Painter. He was drafted 13th overall in the 2021 MLB draft. The right-hander was only 18 years old, yet he managed to rise up the Phillies minor league farm system, progressing from low A to high A to double A within 1 year. He so far has a 1.48 ERA in his minor league career, and he was on his way to being a Phillies big leaguer by the end of 2023. But before the season even began in 2023, he suffered a partially torn ligament. 3 months later during rehab, he realized that he needed to get Tommy John surgery. And I'm no doctor, but I personally would attribute that to throwing so hard. At only 19 years old, he was throwing an average of 96 miles an hour on his fastball. And because of that, he's now set back a year, and while his goal is to pitch this season, it is really uncertain that he actually will do it. It's now 2024, and we just entered spring training just 2 weeks ago. Injuries are obviously a big part of the game, and big leaguers know that whenever they sign a contract. We have so far, already, again, 2 weeks into spring training, seen 2 major pitching injuries. Our first player is Pirates bullpen arm Dauri Moreta. Moreta broke out in 2023, 3.72 ERA, 55 appearances coming out of the bullpen. He solidified himself as a premier option for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And going into spring training, we expected the Pirates bullpen to probably just be the biggest strength of the entire team. But already into spring training, Maeda is dealing with an elbow injury, and it's possible that he's trending towards Tommy John surgery as we speak. He was someone who threw an average of 95 miles an hour on his fastball last season. So yet again, another hard thrower gets hurt. And this all comes back to velocity and bad mechanics. It's not just the velocity, it also comes back to the mechanics that a pitcher is being taught. It is ruining this great sport. And according to a USA Today study last season, nearly half of the hardest throwers in the league have undergone Tommy John surgery at least once. Maeda has become our very first Tommy John surgery candidate of this year, unfortunately, and we're only a few weeks in. And for our next major injury in spring training, we have to go back quite a few seasons, all the way back to 2012. Lucas Giolito, a starting pitcher, was drafted in the first round, and he was regarded as a top player in the Nationals farm system. But very quickly into his professional career, Lucas had to go through a Tommy John surgery. He recovered fine, and the years went on and on and on, and he actually did very well. He was a healthy player, throwing a mid-90s fastball for, again, a long time. In recent seasons, he's been healthy, but he hasn't been good. It's come back to the mechanics have been bad, the velocity has been up, he's just completely lacked the stuff. He went to Boston with the vision of revamping his arm completely, fixing his stuff, and getting back to being elite. With the Red Sox, he has so far pitched 4 innings in this spring training, but in his last outing on Friday last week, he began to feel discomfort in his elbow. His exact quote was, "I felt something in my elbow, which is never fun to deal with." It's not the first time. We all deal with stuff as pitchers all the time with our elbows and shoulders. Top MLB reporter Jeff Passan later reported that he has damage in his elbow and is currently at risk to miss the entire 2024 season. You really hope that it is not as bad as it seems right now, but it looks like he could be possibly missing the entire year. So that's now 2 pitchers who have gone down with potential season-ending injuries. Tommy John, UCL tears, and velocity are the 3 things that are damaging this sport. We need a new direction, and it all starts at the Little League level. We need the coaches to be better. At the high school level, we need the same thing. At the college level, at the minor league level, and at the major league level. This is a mess that baseball is going through. Anyways, if you did enjoy, please subscribe. If not, thanks for watching anyway, and peace out.